Good morning, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talk's Sunday stream of consciousness. How's everybody doing today? Welcome to everybody watching on the McGrath Podcast Network. All of you out there on Facebook and YouTube, Twitter, all the groups that allow us to share it later. If you're not watching live, you can catch us right here on TGI Sports Talk, my personal page. Obviously, the sports authorities with John Gonzalez, Greg Rawlings over there at America's Pastime, the love for baseball. Who else? Flo and Can at Bottom Line Sports. Great job they do. You can catch their latest podcast on TGI Sports Talk if you look at the reels. Let's Talk Sports. Ken Krause over at Golf Bud Sports of All Sorts. Quick shout out to Ralph Williams at RW Media. Ralph does a great job with Smoking Jim Frazier, specifically on the Tuesday Sports Corner from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Ralph's also got some radio presence now, so congratulations to him. And off we go, guys. We got a lot to discuss. It's your show, though. I'll give you a couple primers, but we can talk about whatever you want. We can talk Oscars if you want. Although I don't want to talk about what they're going to talk about. But we got a college basketball. It's championship week. Upsets everywhere. Miami of Ohio loses in the opening round after winning 31 in a row in a regular season. Florida goes down in the SEC, as do the other big boys in the SEC. It's going to be Arkansas and Vanderbilt in the final there. Arizona takes the Big 12 championship over Houston. St. John's, great job. 2 consecutive years to win the Big East tournament. First time ever they've done that, after winning the regular season championship 2 times in a row for the first time ever. Great job by Rick Pitino. Siena from up here in the Northeast outside of Albany and Loudonville, New York. We got teams on the bubble, teams trying to play themselves off the bubble. These teams played horrible all week. So we'll talk some of that. Selection Sunday is tonight. So a lot of teams waiting and wondering whether they're in or where they will go. And the 4th seed, the number 1 seed's up for grabs with Florida getting beat by Vanderbilt yesterday and beat up. But I think Florida still gets it. The WBC, huge news. USA rebounds after Mark DeRosa's ridiculous gaffe the other day. But they rebound to beat Canada on Friday night 5-3. The same night, Italy advanced to the semifinals. First time they'd ever got out of pool play. Now they're in the semifinals. And they're going to play Venezuela, who upset Japan last night in a really fun back-and-forth game. And the Dominican Republic just destroyed they beat up Korea, which we're not surprised about. So we got USA and the Dominican today. The Dominican Republic is loaded. So is the U.S., but that lineup for the Dominican, Paul Skeens will have all he can do to navigate that. And hopefully he can go, 5-6 innings. He's got 80 pitches today that he can max out at. We'll talk more about that. Talk about Mark DeRosa and his gaffe the other day and why he won't just come clean. The NFL, we had free agency. We had the Max Crosby debacle in Baltimore. Listen, you get a chance to give a player a physical, and if he fails it and doesn't meet your requirements, you have the right to renege on the trade. So at the end of the day, that's what it was. I saw a great meme the other day about Belichick being pissed that he never thought of, making a trade and then reneging on it, just destroy somebody's salary cap. But who won and who lost here? I mean, not so who won and lost. I mean, who improved themselves before we play a game? Who improved themselves the most? Not crazy about what the Patriots did. I like what the Jets have done. I like what the Giants did. I like what the Titans have done. I like what the Chiefs have done. I like what a bunch of teams have done here. So we can talk about that and get your opinion. The NBA, if you want to talk, great game last night with the Nuggets and the Lakers. Overtime thriller, playoff type atmosphere. We have the golf going on too, by the way. Now I lost my The Players' Championships is today. Aberg is leading at 13 under. Thorberson is at minus 10, so pretty good lead there. The Americans Young and Harmon are lurking at 9 and 8 behind. They'll be getting underway here shortly. I guess we don't talk about racing a lot, but in the world of sports, the real world does affect the world of sports sometimes. And the Grand Prix in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia have been canceled due to the conflict in the Middle East. So again, the real world does come into play, and hopefully it doesn't come into play here on our soil. But we don't know what will happen, as there's a lot of rumors out there. But stay safe, stay diligent, and you should be fine. Anyway, who's with us yet this morning? There's Chris F. Grave with us. Good morning, Chris. Let's do it right. Remember when Aaron Judge was a fresh-faced youngster? He turns 34 this year. That is shocking to me. You got to remember, too, he didn't get started until he was like 24, 5. So kind of a late bloomer was Aaron Judge. But 34 years old? I remember when Derek Jeter retired, and I thought to myself, when the next Derek Jeter retires, I'm going to be like, 80 years old. So, Aaron Judge has been, the face of this franchise. And by the way, somebody's speculating he'll make it to the Hall of Fame, and the numbers will be tremendous because they bought his rookie card for $5.2 million the other day. So great job there. By the way, guys, speaking of the NCAA tournament, get in the tournament. We've only got like 3 entries, I think, in the and I should probably find this and maybe share it. I will during the course of the day. Go to TGI Sports Talk or my personal page right now and get in the tournament. You got 3 days. Well, you got till Thursday to do it. It's going to be a shame we got 5 guys in this tournament. Right now, I think there's 3 of us in the men's and 2 of us in the women. So let's do it. Good morning, Rick. Good to have you with us. And we'll put the links in the chat here at some point. Barry Bonds had 28 home runs in his final season. He got blackballed by teams for all the allegations, and he packed it in 65 short of 3,000 hits. I'd like to say I don't care, Chris, but that'd be wrong. I do care. Barry Bonds is a great player. Barry Bonds did not need to do what he did. Barry Bonds was a Hall of Fame player before he ever found the world of Balco and steroids. He can deny it all he wants. Your head doesn't grow, 5 hat sizes when you get old. Blackballed. You get blackballed for a reason. But he should be in a Hall of Fame. You can't have a Hall of Fame without Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds and the like. So these guys should be in a Hall, and so should Barry, and tell his stories, warts and all. So he got blackballed. It's his own fault. I'm surprised one dumb owner didn't take a chance on him. But speaking of Bonds, it's his dad's birthday today. He'd be 80 years old today. Barry, we talk about Barry, but Bobby Bonds, before Barry, and he had some bad wheels through a lot of his career. Tremendous player. Came up with the Giants and, learned under the great Willie Mays. Was a tremendous player. And I remember him, one of the big first challenge trades, superstar for superstar. And again, you can say Bobby Mercer wasn't necessarily a superstar, but he was a $100,000 ball player. And that was, I think, the first one-on-one trade for $100,000 ball players in 1974. Between the 74 and 75 seasons, Bonds was traded for Mercer. And it really changed the trajectory of the Yankees. As much as I love Bobby Mercer was my guy. If they hadn't traded Mercer for Bonds, we don't get Rivers, we don't get Figueroa, who are big contributors to the Yankees winning the pennant 3 years in a row from 76 and 77, 78, and back-to-back World Series in 77 and 78. So I was always sad Bobby wasn't part of those teams, but I also realized they may not have got to those series without Bobby going. Loved Bobby, though. But happy birthday in heaven to Bobby Bonds. And he did die young. He had some sort of cancer. I don't remember which. I don't know how you get him in there, JB. Where are you going to play him? I guess you can play him at third base again. Gunner's played well when he's been in there. And they need all the firepower they can get. I mean, as good as Paul Skeens is and as good as that bullpen should be, to me, you get enough out of Paul Skeens where you can get to Bednar and Miller and be done. I'm not sure you're going to get that far. You'll need somebody to bridge a gap. And then the question is going to be, I still don't know who's pitching in Game 7. I think it's going to be Joe Ryan, who they just added to the roster. But Nolan McLean was scheduled to pitch the final when this was put together. So we'll see. I guess Gunner, I'm not benching Bobby Witt for Gunner. I mean, it's great. And I love Gunner. I really do. He's one of my favorite players in the league that doesn't play for my team. Again, there's guys I love watching play. Gunner's one of them. Bobby Witt's one of them, though. So the only way I play him is if I bench Bregman, and I guess I can do that. Probably not giving up a lot. Probably giving up a little bit defensively, I guess, but not too much. Good morning, Danny. Out on the West Coast at, 6:12 a.m. Good to have Danny with us. Good. Your UCLA had a pretty good run, I thought, in the Big Ten. To get to the semifinals, I think was admirable, if you will. We'll see what they can do in the tournament. Vikings were in salary cap hell, but managed to get Murray at 1.3. It was easy to get Murray at 1.3 because, he got released and they don't have to pay him anything but the league minimum for this year. If this works out, I do think this could change. I like this move. I know that, and I know you haven't been the biggest Kyler Murray fan in the past, Rick, but this is probably lesser of two evils if you were coming down to Murray and Aaron Rodgers, let's say. And to your point, I'm not sure that they could pay Aaron Rodgers. I like the Murray deal. I mean, I hear a lot that he doesn't fit Kevin O'Connell's system. Well, you know what great coaches do? They adapt to the players that they have. You think the Patriots ran the same system for 20 years? They did not. The system in 2001 and 2, 3, 4 was a lot different than it was in 2007, and certainly a lot different than it was in 2012 and 15. Great coaching staffs adapt. Now, Tom Brady can make that move. They didn't have to adjust to a new quarterback. I get that. But Kyler Murray is the one who needs to adapt, and I think he will. I think the kid's got talent. And hopefully this is a wake-up call for him. And who knows, with the malaise that is there in Arizona, I mean, that organization is one of the worst in football. Maybe he has a revelation here, and Kevin O'Connell can get through to him. He's a great coach. And I think it could change a whole trajectory. I'm glad that you're happy. I think it seems you're happy about this move anyway, Rick. I know you were thinking Cousins would be the guy. To me, whether you're all in or this year, and if this works out this year, there's no reason. It's funny. The parallel to Sam Darnold is very interesting because he had a make good year too, and then cashed in. So the question is going to be, he leads you guys to, I don't know, let's just say they have a very good year, right? Win 12 games, get to the conference finals, a conference championship game and lose, let's just say. Or win a Super Bowl. At what point do you have to say, now we got to lock him up and pay him the money? Because if he does well there, he's going to get paid. So, but and then what does it do to J.J. McCarthy? I think, McCarthy could still be the quarterback of the future there. I think this is worth rolling the dice. You've lost no money. In the grand scheme of things in the NFL, $1.3 million is nothing. The only thing you risk is losing time and your windows time, right? We talk about windows of opportunity. and you waste a year of it if this falls flat. And to me, I think it's well worth the risk. So kudos to Minnesota. Great job. Toronto to host the World Cup in June. In terms of construction infrastructure, the city isn't even close to ready. That's not good. June's like 3 months away, right? There I am showing off my math skills again. Actually, less than 3 months away. There will certainly be some wet paint signs in the stands. How come these venues know years in advance, that they're going to be hosting big events, whether it be the World Cup, the Olympics, whatever it is? Why are they always struggling? Can't get my screen back on here. Hold on. Why are they always struggling to make things happen at the end? I don't get it. By the way, speaking of, this is the Olympics, but we were talking about the WBC, and we talked about a little bit on the MPN roundtable this morning that this WBC has some Olympic implications, by the way, because baseball will be in the Olympics in 2028. We don't know whether MLB players will be allowed to play or not. But these top 4 teams now have secured berths in the Olympics, and there's only going to be 6 teams. So you got some good teams that are going to have to play their way in. Italy has been one of the most remarkable stories in sports this year. I mean, Italy getting to the Final Four in the WBC. I say Brian Cashman should go to Miami today, talk to Francisco Cervelli, and hire him as his manager right now. You can do what you want with Aaron Boone. Hello, Paul Spada. Good to have you with us this morning out in Wisconsin. UCLA played well, 2 wins in the dance. 2 wins. Getting to the Sweet 16 is not a bad year. I mean, if we go back in history for UCLA, that wouldn't be necessarily a successful season. But I think, and again, would you still fire Cronin after this performance? I know that he's been in the crosshairs about, and certainly your crosshairs, Danny. I don't think he's done a bad job with this team. I mean, they haven't played well on the road. Did they lose at home this year? Did they lose in Pauley at all? Once? I don't think they lost more than once if they lost at all. Oh, 5-6 of them. Did you see some of the memes are hilarious, right? Height doesn't matter that much. Depends on who you are. Doug Flutie made it work. And who knows what his height really is. We'll see. What's JB got here? Gunner 7 for 9 lifetime against Severino. Well, there you go. That's a pretty good stat. Sit Bregman. Get the left-right matchup at science. No Orioles should ever be on the bench. The only problem is he's part of the stigma of the Italy loss. Not his fault. By the way, we can say, and Gunner, the one move in the Italy game that I didn't really question is I like getting Gunner in the lineup. I love Bregman. But I like Henderson as well. Getting his bat in the lineup, I think, was important. But some of the other moves, every single move, I don't care how the guys played that he put in there, right? Everything he did that night, until he sat Kershaw down in the bullpen when the bases were loaded and they were trying to fight their way back in the game, told me he did not know that they were a lock for the knockout round. But I like Gunner getting in there. What's a sorry, we got a little cough going on here this morning. What is a piss tank, Michael Landing? What's a skill check? Who is he? I'll tell you, Chris takes his job on this show very seriously about finding irreverent. Remember, the word is irreverent facts. Great job. Danny, two big stories today. I think there's it's probably a better chance of Miami of Ohio getting in than the USA beating the Dominican. And I do think that they'll beat Dominican somehow. But that lineup's loaded. And Miami of Ohio's got to be in. 31-1. I don't give a crap that they lost to UMass and didn't look good doing it. 31-1 is 31-1. If you're going to have 68 teams and sometime in the very near future more, and you're not going to reward mid-major teams that have great records. In fact, I'll tell you what, if Miami had gotten to the championship game and played Akron and beat them, I'd have been in favor of Akron getting in with an at-large. They had a great season as well. One loss in conference. I don't need to see Auburn and Alabama and Oklahoma State and BYU and all these teams that are under 500 or at 500 in their conference. I don't need to see them. Reward teams that won championships or just fell short, not teams that finished ninth in their conference. I mean, what are we doing here? Hold on. We're looking at we're looking at 10 teams in the SEC. That means the 10th best team in the ACC, the 8th, 9th, and 10th best teams are getting it. Big Ten, the 9th best team is getting in. ACC, 8. ACC has kind of had a good comeback and got much deeper as this year went on. The Big 12, 8. I mean, do we need the 8th, 9th, and 10th best teams in these conferences going to the championship to play for the championship of basketball? No, we don't. They've done nothing to deserve it. Winning games get you into these types of tournaments. Winning games. Not every conference is going to be as strong as the SEC. And I know, look at all these conferences I mentioned, all very strong. So I think they get in. I think what the travesty that we're going to be looking at is they could very likely be playing 2-0 Wednesday in the first 4. So they go 31 and it didn't matter what happened. We'd be having, if they won the conference, obviously they're in. But even if they'd won the conference, they weren't getting kind of respect they should get. Why was Wichita State in 2015 a number 1 seed out of the Missouri Valley? If we're just talking about strength of schedule, they didn't play a lot of great teams, or they did play a couple of non-conference games that were decent teams. But they didn't do great in the tournament. They went out in the second round. Why is this team was looking at, even if they won the conference, they were looking at 11 seed. Crazy. Ernie Wynn has been I think he's managed him every single WBC. Good call, Chris. He did get a short coaching gig with the Blue Jays 10 or 15 years ago. I thought Ernie Witt managed. Oh, no, I'm thinking of a different guy. Didn't he? I thought he was. No, you're right. I could have swore. Yeah, I thought Ernie Witt had a managing job at one point in Cleveland. I think I'm thinking of Eric Wedge, probably. Mix those two guys up. Some guys just never get a chance, right? For whatever reason, they're not looked at as material. Some of these managers are going to use this WBC as a launching point. I think Ernie's past that point because of his age. But Pujols is managing the Dominican Republic. You don't think that this performance has helped his resume? Tremendous. Yadier Molina, another guy in Puerto Rico. Maybe Cervelli. You are going to hear Cervelli's name probably mentioned the next go round of Major League Manager jobs, if he wants it. I don't even know what Francisco Cervelli does outside of managing Italy in the WBC. And he brought along that well-known Italian Jorge Posada to be his bench coach. .5'10" he's listed at. I don't know how tall he is. I think he could be 5'10". I mean, I'm 5'10". Listed at 5'10". I don't think he's 5'6", though, either. Maybe he's 5'9.5". I doubt very much he's below 5'9". Do you guys really think he's that short? I got no way to. None of us have any way to prove we're right or wrong. I just doubt very strongly he's less. I'm not going to be surprised he's less than 5'10". I mean, Flutie was always listed higher too. I mean, but Flutie was rumored to be 5'7". I don't think there's any way he was. It's definitely not the best 68 teams overall. You've got to say, but you've got, I'll say, 10 conference champions, more than that. Oh, I see what you're saying. That have teams that aren't in the top 50 and they're getting automatic bids. So let Miami of Ohio in with one loss. They'll probably be a 15 seed and get their asses smacked. Now, see, here's the thing, too. If they were getting a legitimate seed, it's ridiculous for them to get a 15 seed. It's ridiculous for them, to me, in my mind, to be any lower than 6 at 31-1. They should not be lower than any of these, the A-Sun champion. They shouldn't be less than any of them. I think they're going to get an 11. Who plays in the, is it the 11 or the 12 seed that's got to play in the first 4? All of those 11 seeds have to be, there 2 of them, I think, have to be filled. I guess it's 2. Have to be filled, and they're filled from the first 4. Remember, it's the last 4 at-large teams and the last 4 automatic bids, the lowest seeded ones of those that play in that first 4. But it's not, the lowest 4 at-large teams are not necessarily 16 seeds or 15 seeds, remember. They're going to be, I think, they're either on the 11 or 12 line. I don't remember now. And by the way, you should continue to let these conference champions in because that's what the tournament is for. Conference champions. I don't care if it's the A-Sun or frickin', Little Sisters of the Poor Tech. No, I'm sorry. That'd be a team. Little Sisters of the Poor league, right? I don't care who it is. The conference is for champions, number 1. So I'd rather reward really strong second place finishers or reward the regular season champion if they don't win their conference championship of the mid-majors than I would give the 9th or 10th place in the ACC or SEC or Big Ten. I don't need to see Indiana with 8 conference wins get in there. And if you want to make sure that these teams don't end up with these horrible strength of schedules, well, then force the big guys to go play some of these teams. I mean, Miami can't buy a freaking game outside of the conference. California Baptist teams won their conference and they get in. I don't think they could beat Miami of Ohio. I agree. I'm not sure. I don't, and again, I could be misunderstanding your argument, Danny, but I don't think we should penalize and start removing some of these lesser conference champions either. That's not the answer to this tournament. Do you think people are going to tune in outside of Auburn? If Auburn's in, is anybody turning it on, a game on to see Auburn maybe upset somebody? No. That's not watching Cinderella. When they're undefeated, sure. They're a story outside of Alabama. If Auburn had gotten or gets into this tournament, nobody's going to be caring about their first round game that they get beat in. Nobody. Yes, I know. The lack of punctuation. Throat gives you away. You can say period and comma here now and again. You're good. It might make it worse. Don't do that. I'm getting good at deciphering it for the most part. I just have to read slower. I don't know that we did decide. We decided if it was appropriate. I know that was Danny's comment. If it was appropriate. I don't think I'm that inappropriate most of the time. At times I am. Believe me, if I said everything that came into this head, it'd be inappropriate. But I'm a funny is funny kind of guy. And for whatever reason, again, not to throw Jack under the bus, but Jack was, it's funny. He will be funny. He likes to be funny on the show, but I don't know. I like humor. It's the only way I know how to do these shows. That's the only way I know how to get through life, is to have fun and laugh at it, right? I mean, I laugh at sports. I get mad and I get angry, and I'm very passionate. I'm passionate in my sports. I'm passionate in my politics. I'm passionate in most things that are important to me. But I can also joke about them all the time. And funny is funny to me. You can be on the other side of an argument, and if you're funny, I will laugh like you have no idea. I love funny. They're up. Danny, they've been up for like 10 days, or maybe, I don't know. Maybe I did it last Monday. I don't remember. They're up. Go to TGI Sports Talk page and go to my personal page. I just shared them again this morning. So they've been up for a week or so, and I apologize. I did post them in the comments here the last couple shows as well, which I guess I can do right now. I can post the links to, hold on, let me do this. Let me do this real quick. Here's one. This is the men's. Let me just make sure this is the right one. I did create two that I didn't like. All right, I think this is right. So bear with me 1 second while I do this share real quick. This is going to be a link to the men's tournament. I'll put it in here. And I'll put one in for the women's too. So bear with me 1 second while I find that one. Share. Copy link. And there you go. So right now there's only me and Rick, and I think maybe Matt. Maybe Matt is out in Orange County. Good morning, Donna. Donna, get in our tournaments. I know you don't know anything you said about college basketball, but it'll be fun. We used to have an office pool where a woman got in. I only say woman because that's what she was. I'm not. Please, no letters, no picketing my house. She didn't know anything about college basketball, so she picked everything based on whether which mascot could beat up the other one. And she won the freaking pool. About $1,000. This was free. So this is for bragging rights. So good morning, Donna. Great to have you with us. Nationals put Richard Lovelady on waivers. I don't know that much about Richard Lovelady, quite frankly. Love Lady Rant. On what planet do you wave a 30-year-old left-hander when spring is so fresh? Well, I can say this. I mean, knowing he's left-handed, I tell all my friends when they've had kids or grandkids, teach them to be left-handed because they can pitch in the major leagues. They don't have to be any good. They can pitch in the major leagues until they're about 45. So I don't know that much about Mr. Lovelady. Listen, I think the Nationals have a chance to be better than you think this year, too, by the way. We'll do our Major League Baseball preview show soon. There's a good morning to Donna. There's a good morning to Danny. And there's the posts for all of the links. The comments come in several times, guys. So make sure you grab each. The men and the women are in here. Unfortunately, when I share a comment, it's going to come from every place I'm sharing a show. So that's why I have so many. I apologize. But one of those is the men. One is the women. If that's not working for some reason, go to my personal page and go to TGI Sports Talk. Do it now, and I'll share it again later. Maybe I'll pin it to the top of the page. I think I can do that. We see a lot of videos now because I do the shows, and I've started having StreamYard generate clips, and the clips are getting tremendous views. I mean, people don't want to sit and listen to me for 2 hours, which, believe me, I understand. Nobody wants to listen to me for 5 minutes. But 30 and 45 seconds at a clip, we're getting some great views, and it's really driving views on these shows, I think, too. Right now I'm in Facebook jail, by the way, not blocked, but I can't share the show. John Gonzalez, Greg, you guys who are Flo and Ken, you guys are used to seeing the show shared every 4 or 5 times a week. I have been unable to do it since Monday. I think I know why they blocked me. By their calculations, I'm not able to share again until the 22nd. So, but we're still getting almost the same number of views weekly because the clips that I started generating, some of them get 1,000 views all by themselves. So wonderful. But you'll see a lot of stuff when you go to the feed now. It's the 11 seed that plays in that's what I thought. And listen, I have every confidence that Miami's probably on that line. I expect to see Miami of Ohio playing Tuesday and Wednesday, which is basically playing their way into this tournament. And when they expand this tournament to 72 or 76 or 96 or whatever it ends up being, I want them to do the same thing. I really would like to see, and maybe we need to lower the tournament down back to 48 or 32 and make all these other games. Don't say they're in the tournament. Let them play their way in. Let these teams that sit on the bubble play their way in. Put them in their own tournament to play their way in for 1 spot or 2 spots or whatever. Probably need to have more than 32 just because of the sheer number of leagues. There's so many leagues now. Good morning, Matt. Good to have you with us. A few weeks ago, you and I talked about the Honus Wagner card at $5.2 million, Matt. Matt's a card collecting guy, knows a little bit about this world that I don't understand at all. But we saw a Aaron Judge card, a rookie card, go for $5.2 million. I mean, I love Aaron Judge. I love what Aaron Judge has done in his career. But Aaron Judge isn't one of the all-time greats yet. So this is like, to me, it's speculation. And maybe I'm wrong, Matt. But to me, when you're buying Aaron Judge card, when he's 34 years old, not in the Hall of Fame yet, his career's not over. He doesn't have historic numbers yet. We would expect that before it's over. But to me, it's speculating that I can sell that card for, I don't know, $10 million, 10 years from now. I don't know. You tell me. Tiger time. Tiger is not ruled out a return to the links in April. Where, at the Masters? I'll tell you this, and I've been bitten by this bug before. Tiger Woods was great. Tiger Woods is not the greatest of all time. Jack Nicklaus is the greatest of all time. If Jack Nicklaus played with the same equipment in his career that Tiger Woods played with, he might have been even better. He could have competed today. I love guys that say, well, Jack couldn't compete. Look at what Tiger's hitting into these par fives. Well, they're playing with totally different equipment. Jack Nicklaus is the greatest golfer of all time, but Tiger's probably second. And Tiger is great. Was great. But Tiger Woods' time has passed. It's over for him. You don't compete for championships at his age, especially when you're playing as little as he has. When Nicklaus won the Masters in 1986 at 46 years old, that was a miracle. You don't see guys winning major championships, and that's what matters. If he comes back and wins, the Taco Bell Classic in Tallahassee, I'm not going to tell you that, oh, great, Tiger's back. But Tiger's time has passed. He goes out he tries to, for instance, if he came back in April and wanted to play in the Masters, which he can do, he wouldn't make the cut. I don't think. John Gonzalez, the aforementioned tremendous, the super number one admin out there over at the Sports Authorities. John Gonzalez joins us. Also, the number one Joe Namath fan in the world. I keep this here with me all times now. I feel like it's become a good luck charm, John. Or I can sell it to you. Not sell it to you, sorry. I don't buy and sell cards. I give it to you. I don't know how Matt sent me that one. Matt must have been Matt must have been on that day we had that conversation, because all the other cards were Patriots and Yankees. And I had this Joe Namath card in the middle of them. Danny Moreno Valley legend. What? Oh, that must be Danny, Moreno Valley legend. NIT. Who's going to NIT? Does anybody care about the NIT, John? John, you're a man of, I don't think quite my age, but of a certain age, and have to remember when the NIT was good, and you're a New York guy. Did you go to the NIT? I went one year. In fact, when I was a senior in high school, our varsity club trip was to New York to watch the semis and the finals of the NIT. I believe Houston and Otis Birdsong was there. St. Bonaventure was there. I don't remember the other teams. I feel like they played in the championship game. That was 1978. You can figure out how old I am, although I say it all the time. 66. I'm in my 66th year. Not quite there yet. But I'm wondering if, John, did you go to the Garden when the NIT was big in the 70s, let's say? Remember, when 24 and 32 teams were getting in the NCAA tournament, there was still a lot of good teams. And the NIT was offering a stepping stone for young teams to go win and then do much better or make the NCAA tournament and actually make a run. UConn under Calhoun. That's where they really, that young team did make the NCAA tournament, went to the NIT and won. And then Calhoun's team started going to the NCAA every year and winning often. Danny has a Baby Ruth card. A Babe Ruth card. Well, you might want to sell it. Aaron Judge will be the Dan Marino of football, one of the best never to win a ship. I'd like to argue that point, Danny, but at this point, I'm having trouble doing that, as you probably are not surprised. I'm not this, I'm not this rose-colored glasses fan, right? I can't always tell you my team is great when I know they're not. And I don't see how running it back basically this year is going to help this team. I mean, I know that a great instance is they bring Trent Grisham back, and does anybody think Trent Grisham is going to repeat last year? In doing that, and in signing Randall Grinchek, Jason Dominguez is probably going to up in the minor leagues. He's too good for the AAA and maybe not good enough for Major League Baseball. He might be a quadruple A player. And we may never find out whether he can play or not, at least not here. And again, the defense never hasn't matured. The ability from the right side of the plate, which the Yankees need, hasn't developed. And again, I think it's kind of a shame, but I'm very hard on my own team. I think the entire Japanese team was eliminated last night, actually. But Ohtani had a really good tournament. It was very surprising to see Japan go, but there was some red flags before last night. They struggled with Korea. They struggled early on against Great Britain. They struggled against Australia for a while in pool play. They end up winning all those games. Some of them they win convincingly. But once you get into some of these lesser teams, once you get into their bullpens, then things kind of turn around. But I wasn't shocked. Venezuela has a very good team. All these Latin American countries are really good. And the Dominican is just loaded, man. Severino pitches tonight. I mean, pitching might be their weak spot, but the problem is they could put a 10 spot up on you anytime. There's no holes, and the U.S. is close to the same thing. There's really no holes in the batting orders. I give the U.S. a little bit of an edge because their best pitcher is going in Skeens, and hopefully he's able to go. He can go 80 pitches, I believe, tonight is the max. Because I don't think that increases from the quarterfinal. And then hopefully they can get to Bednar and Miller and maybe one other guy in leading up to them. I mean, I think the bullpen's deep. I'm not sure how deep the DR's bullpen is. I feel like the U.S. is a bit deeper there. Sports cards is fun, but a crazy hobby. It's all about grading cards, which make the value go through the roof. Judge $5 million. That's unread. I'm shocked. I mean, I've grown accustomed to hearing Honus Wagner and Mickey Mantle cards going for millions of dollars because they're rare, right? And they're great players. But for a guy whose career is not close to being over, hopefully, and hasn't achieved some of the things that these other guys have achieved, I mean, if and that's the thing too, Matt. So we think he's speculating here. This guy who bought this for I'm assuming it's a guy. If Aaron Judge has a great career, hits 500 home runs, he's not going to get to 3,000 hits. So 500 home runs would be the big thing he'll hang his hat on, which doesn't mean what it used to. Makes the Hall of Fame, but never wins a World Series championship. Does that decrease the value of this? I've got to believe that it does. Card prices online can get a little kooky. I've seen a Todd Zeal card go for $500. Todd Zeal, and $270 for shipping. For shipping a card. Hold on. Can't you just put it in the mail? Put a stamp on it? Isn't it ironic? I grabbed the Horace Clark card, by the way. How much you think this one's worth? Matt sent it to me for free, so I'm going to say $0. Thank you again, Matt, for all these cards. I love them. You know, it's funny. I'm more excited to get my Horace Clark card than I am Jeter and Judge and DiMaggio. Lou Piniella. I got some great cards there. That doesn't even count. I've got them up kind of in different places around my office now, too. Off some of the plaques in the back of me. You can probably almost see that. But thank you again, Matt. So true. That's Chris. I have no idea. What is that what is that YRFDKDMB actually mean? Anything, or you just like whatever keys you hit is what you made your username there on YouTube? Thank you for coming in from the YouTube side, by the way. We have really the clips I talked about before, where we've been getting, I don't know, we still got 80. I mean, I think we're up to 90 subscribers, but we got to get thousands more over there. But the views were, we'd go anywhere from, I might get 5, I might get 50 to the shows. But when I put the clips up, they'll get a 1,000 views. So that's hopefully going to help drive it a little bit. We'll be working with CIA a little bit more. Is this NIT or NIT? Pete Incaviglia rookie card made by Sportflix, 1986 hologram card. I always like the classic cards, I'm going to guess this is a Topps card, right? Yeah. I'm a big fan of the Topps. The basic card, there you go. Horace Clark, you got his position, you got his team. On the back, you get the stats. Oops, this way, and a little story about what to say about Horace on this card. With Bobby Richardson's retirement, Horace Clark stepped into the role of Yankee second baseman in 1967. All he did was lead the Yanks in base hits, batting, stolen bases, and runs scored. Pretty impressive. But the Yankees were horrible in 1967, by the way. And Horace hit 2 grand slams that year. There's only 2 home runs in a year. Horace is a bit of an underrated player and also the face of a whole era in Yankee baseball, unfairly maybe. But anyway, I don't know why I love those cards. I love the Topps cards, classic cards. All you do is click. So each round you go down each matchup, and one of them will be blank until they play the first 4, right? And by the way, so there's no teams in there yet, Donna. Those brackets will be populated probably either late tonight after the selection show at 6:00 tonight, or tomorrow morning. And then you're going to have teams in each one of those. And I think you might see the play-in games, the first 4. So you might not see a 16 and the 11 lines filled in, but you can pick those teams who advance if you want. And you just go to each matchup and you click on it. I believe you just click on it. It'll go move it over 1. And you do that for all the first round, then go to the second round, look at the same matchups and pick the team you think will move on. I'd love you to do it the way you can use whatever system you want. I'm still shocked that at work that one woman, she won it. And all she did was pick whether the mascot could win a fight against the other mascot. It was hilarious. So anyway, you just keep moving them across until you get to the finals, until you get to the semifinals and the finals, and then you put in your national champion at the end. So it's a matter of clicking on the team to keep them moving across. And I think at the end you might put in a tiebreaker. And the tiebreaker would be if you pick Kansas to win, for instance, and somebody else picked Kansas, there'd be a tiebreaker to see how many points were scored by both teams in the final. So it's not that hard. It sounds worse than what it is. Sportfix are pretty good. I don't have any of those cards. Let me see if I have one of those. I don't know if I do or not. You sent me all kinds of different ones. I don't know if I had any hologram cards, though. I'm just old school, right? I mean, tops were what I bought when I was a kid. I think it's all I could buy when I was a kid. Am I wrong about that, Matt? So I'm 66 years old. We're going to be 66 years old. I'm in my 66th year. So in the 70s, let's say the 60s and 70s, I'm buying baseball cards. Can I buy something besides tops? I feel like that's all I bought. Maybe I'm misremembering that. Rick's father-in-law played the NIT in the 50s. He was a great player until his early 60s in the over 30 league. In the 50s, the NIT was a bigger tournament than the NCAA. I mean, teams would not go to the NCAA. Teams were playing both at that time. But the NIT was the really big tournament until Wooden. And correct me if I'm wrong here. Somebody can. Danny, you might know this because what I'm going to mention affects your team. The NCAA tournament itself didn't become really that big until the late 50s. And then when UCLA started winning in the early 60s and through the 60s, I think the NCAA became a much bigger tournament. And as I think about it, maybe earlier than that, because the late 50s, you had Kansas winning with Wilt. Maybe I'm wrong. Horace Clarke is priceless. The Hoss. Lived from the Virgin Islands, went back there when he retired. I know his son participates in one of the groups I belong in. In fact, it's called the Horace Clarke Years, I think, is the name of the group. Fritz Peterson, the subtitle of his book was Fritz Peterson and Living Through the Horace Clarke Years or something like that. It's a bit unfair, a misnomer, I think, he to label him as the face of, a decade of struggles almost. They had some decent years in there. But Jerry Kenny. Loved Jerry Kenny. Jerry Kenny had some talent. Struck out too much. Could run a little bit. Played a few positions. Big Jerry Kenny fan. Send me anything you want. Donna hopped over to YouTube. Make sure you've subscribed if you haven't, Donna. What's that? I get it now. Oh. Oh, that is awesome, Chris. That is awesome, my friend. That is too freaking good. You check it out later when this team's already in. And like I said, even the teams that are playing their way in, there's 8 teams that'll play their way into the main bracket. I think it tells you that on that bracket line, it'll say whatever, Yale / Miami, Ohio, whoever it is. They're playing each other. So they would end up playing the team that was listed on that matchup with them. You're not likely picking that team to advance anyway. You might actually in the 6 games, you might. Topps was the only company until the 80s. So I didn't misremember that. Thank you, Matt. I like to check my own memory. And I do remember things, I swear, from the 60s and 70s more better than I remember things yesterday. Well, there you go. We got the answer. I had so many. Cataloged them all when I was a kid. Didn't know they'd be worth money someday. I mean, that Jack Aker Yankee card could be worth, I don't know, 2 cents today. Wow. Chris F. Grave, our man in Toronto, our man in Canada. Everybody's got to have a guy in Canada, right? Chris and I are trying to keep relations between Canada civil. right? I mean, nobody else wants to work on this, so he and I will. But he sent you a Fernando Valenzuela, I'm assuming, card from a card collector. Chris from Cambridge is the man of all men. Wow, high praise. You may have sent me one. I'm not, and I just haven't noticed it. But Matt's a great, Matt sends me these cards, and I'm sure he's not sending me anything worth anything. I'm not asking you to. But I have had so much fun. I'll play with you. I got them all over the place. I mean, the fact that I've got a Horace Clark card is just. I got a bunch of Nettles cards. I got a bunch of Patriot cards too, but Chambliss, Brett Gardner, and we do have some classics. And Joe DiMaggio, Mo. This almost looks like a hologram. No, not even that easy to see who made the cards. Skybox, I guess. Pretty cool stuff, though. Reggie. These guys just didn't make my wall yet. And I think I told you guys, I even decorated my Christmas tree that I had up in the background here for 2 or 3, 4 weeks, whatever, with lights. They had lights on it, but I didn't use decorations. I put up the Christmas cards. I thought it was kind of cool. Joe Carter's brother was a prolific softball power hitter. He would hit 400 home runs in a season. Yes, 400 in a season. What kind of beer did they drink during these games? I just can't get over your heft, mate. Oh my God. Let me come back down here. That is very good stuff. Please do keep the friendship going. One of these days I'm going to get there. I love going to Canada. I've been to Niagara Falls. You go to Niagara Falls, you got to go to the Canadian side. The U.S. side, in my mind, sucks. But the Canadian side is awesome. Toronto's a great city. Been there. We'll be in British Columbia when we cruise to Alaska in July. So we'll get to go to British Columbia. Have not been there. I don't know what our port is. And we have to go there because all of these, these cruise ships have, they're registered in foreign countries. For instance, every cruise from the U.S. has to make a stop in an international stop. So this one goes north from Seattle to, maybe it's Vancouver. I'm not really sure. It depends on where the ports are. I don't even know where the ports are before we sail off to Alaska. So. Oh, I love Johnny Ellis. I talk about playing Stratomatic all the time in the mystery tournaments. And when I'm playing in the 70s, I always try to get Johnny Ellis on my team and then see if I get a good card. He's got 5 cards and 3 of them are okay. Now, 2 of them are pretty good. And 3 of them are pretty bad. So I don't often keep him long, but I always try to get him on my team. I love Johnny Ellis. There was a time where the Yankees had Johnny Ellis rated either just a bit ahead or at least even with Thurman. There was question in 1970, 69 and 70, which guy was going to be the Yankee catcher of the future. They decided on Thurman and tried Johnny at some other positions. Didn't quite work out well. And he went in the Greg Nettles trade, I believe, John, if I'm not mistaken. He wasn't part of that. Some people think he was part of that big April trade in 74 when they brought Chris Chambliss in. Everybody was up in arms about that. I remember as a 14-year-old kid, I remember Yankee fans being in up in arms about trading all these young pitchers for Chris Chambliss. And Chambliss didn't play great that first year. But the Yankees ended up in a pennant race that year, and Chris Chambliss later on in future pennant races, Chris Chambliss was pretty huge in Yankee lore. Could hit one big home run that I remember. Everybody should remember. Will do. This one is from St. Thomas. It's funny, and maybe they're all left-handed. I don't drink my coffee left-handed. It's the only way you can see where the cup is from because I'm the guy looking at where it's from. This one's become my favorite because it holds like 20 ounces of coffee. We'll get you something, Donna. Whenever my family and I make our California trip to Rochester, we make it New Orleans on the Canadian side a must. It's much better. I don't know whether you've done the New York side. I have spent some time on the New York side. It's just, there's a lot more to do on the Canadian side in my mind. Some great restaurants over there. Cool casino. It's a lot of fun. So we're caught up on comments. What do we? No comments on NFL free agency. No, well, we had one. Rick talked about the fact that the Vikings made out on the Kyler Murray trade. I sensed from our conversations that Donna's got to go. You have a great day, Donna. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you and everybody else coming up in a few days. A lot of parties this weekend. I feel like I thought the Titans did a really good job, by the way, in free agency. They signed a lot of guys. They signed some I think some help for that offensive line. Wan'Dale Robinson is a guy that I like a lot. The Patriots ended up with Dobbs, and I would have rather have had Pierce, number one, I talked about. And I probably didn't mention Wan'Dale Robinson, but he's another guy that I would have liked to have had. I think Dobbs will be fine, but I like what the Titans did getting him at wide receiver as a weapon for well, I don't want to keep wanting to call him Charlie Ward. It's not Ward. It's my God. Oh boy. Remember, I'm in my 66th year. I'm starting. And they say signs of. Never mind. My wife will hate me putting that into the universe. Cam Ward. Geez, Cam Ward. I think they did a good job getting him some weapons, and I fully expect the Titans to take Love, the running back, great running back out of Notre Dame, with their pick in the first round. I'd be shocked if they didn't go that way. And he's really the only running back you're going to see in the first two rounds, I would think. You may not see another running back go to like round 3 after he goes. That's a great call, John. I like that. No offense to those in Detroit, I guess, but it is a little bit like visiting Detroit. Oh, John, great call, buddy. It is interesting. You know, I can't sit here with 100% certainty and tell you, well, Minnesota's a Super Bowl contender now. He's got he's got better weapons than he ever had. They re-signed Aaron Jones, and he's got some miles on him. I like Mason in that running back position. I think they're still weapons. You got Justin Jefferson still. You got Addison. They'll have another. I think they might have a third guy now that's escaping me. There's some weapons there, and if a guy's going to turn this guy's career around, I think Kevin O'Connell's as good a bet to do it as anybody. It's a bit of a quarterback whisperer, and it's interesting. Now, the interesting part to me also is what happens when he does well. If he does well, let's just say he does. So when he does well, they've got to sign him. And now you're in the same position you were in with Darnold. Now, I don't think if he has a good year and they have a good year, maybe they don't win the Super Bowl, let's say. But they win a playoff game, 2 playoff games even. I don't think they make the same mistake twice. I don't think they move on from the guy who brought them to a certain level. I'm thinking J.J. Murray, and I like J.J. McCarthy. I don't think they think he has much of a future. They know he needs some seasoning, if anything else, obviously. I don't think Kyler Murray's going there to compete with him. I'm sure it'll be at least look like a competition. But we'll find out. And I don't think if what I said comes to fruition, I don't think that they'll make the same mistake twice. I think they'll sign Kyler Murray long term. And he's going to get a big contract if he, in fact, turns around his career in Minnesota. Ouch. Detroit. Detroit takes a lot of grief. I like what the Rams did too. The Rams getting McDuffie might be the biggest offseason move of all so far. And there's been some very interesting ones. We were debating whether that or Crosby before the Crosby trade got called off, whether that which move was going to have the most impact. And I thought McDuffie was. They already had a good secondary. Now they have maybe one of the top 3 cornerbacks in football. Maybe the top guy not named Christian Gonzalez. I'll home it a little bit here. So I think the Rams did a great job. And I think Kansas City did a great job too with some of the moves that they made in free agency, specifically getting Kenneth Walker III. Patriots had kind of an up and down. I like the lineman that they got from the Jets. Kind of high risk, high reward. He's either going to be very good or be a washout. 3 years, $51 million. I think that, listen, they have a really, really good defensive team. Their secondary has gotten better too. Well, you still have the draft, and there's still other moves to be made. I mean, I don't think you can just look at. I mean, free agency is just one piece of the puzzle, right? What was the one Jack and I were talking about the other day? Jack was all up in arms. Gosh, it was somebody who either traded somebody, or a free agent signing, or not a free agent signing. I think it was a trade. I guess it was Chicago trading when they traded DJ Moore. And I said, you can't just judge a team's offseason on what they do in free agency because there's other stuff to do. The draft is still huge. There's going to be other guys that are going to be cap hits that are going to be available before the season starts. There's a lot of things, and until everything comes together, I can't judge. I mean, I'm saying the Titans did well. I'm saying the Giants did well. I'm saying I'm not crazy about what the Patriots have done, but I don't know what the rest of the plan is. Right? So it's all got to play out before you decide who did well and who didn't. Yes, the Vikings and the Vikings and 75% of the rest of the league needs to work on their offensive line. And you're right. If nothing gets changed, I know you wouldn't wish players to get hurt, Danny. I mean, you guys, I never wish guys to get hurt, but even guys that I just can't stand, I would never wish them to get hurt. He will be a sitting duck back there, but it doesn't take that much to make it serviceable, right? And you also have to find ways. I told Brian this when we were talking about bad lines in Detroit and bad lines elsewhere. I mean, maybe I said it to Rick. I don't remember. I think it was Brian or Rick. Good coaches find a way to scheme around that. I can tell you firsthand that if you think the Patriots during their 20-year run had great offensive lines protecting Tom Brady every one of those years, you weren't paying attention to the games, because there was at least 5 seasons in that 20 where they did not have great offensive lines. In fact, a couple of those years they were really putrid, and they'd still find ways to get to the playoffs, get to championship games. Now, the Super Bowl teams all had pretty good offensive lines, but they still found a way to compete. even with bad offensive lines. Because you have to, game plan around, which they didn't do in the Super Bowl, by the way. Josh McDaniel, who has had great experience game planning around poor offensive lines, or not the greatest offensive lines, did not do that in the Super Bowl. There's ways to protect your quarterback with him getting pressured at the same time. Well, maybe you don't protect him. He still takes a hit. But you're able to at least move the ball down the field with bad offensive lines. And again, 75% of the league probably has this problem. And by the way, as long as you keep paying quarterbacks, and you can keep raising the salary cap all you want, but as long as you keep paying quarterbacks and wide receivers these astronomical amount of money, you're not going to have any depth on an offensive line. So if you have an injury or two, you're going to have a bad offensive line, or somebody has an off year. Because you can't be deep everywhere. I mean, if we're going to pay quarterbacks, $60 million, and we're going to pay wide receivers $45 and $50, well, then you're not going to have any depth at other places. So you better hope for good health. They adjusted, I think, Hawkinson's contract, right? So I like Hawkinson too. He's another good target. I think I mentioned Aaron Jones re-signing there for less money. Get Jefferson. You're right, and Danny's right. You got to fix your offensive line, but everybody does. We sit here and we'll pick and choose a team. Not you, Danny, and Rick. We all talk about different teams and their offensive lines, but I can say that about almost every team, except a handful of them. Do you think Seattle offensive line played a great Super Bowl? They did not. They weren't quite as bad as the Patriots and Will Campbell, but they didn't play well. Maybe they did run blocking because obviously Kenneth Walker III had a great game, but Sam Darnold was running for his life most of the time. He was able to find guys where Drake May wasn't. So you find ways to get around bad stuff. Duffy's a great player. And again, cornerbacks are another position getting a lot of money. Seems every week somebody's breaking a record for the biggest contract at wide receiver and cornerback. Geno Smith to the Jets, that's a good one. Bo Crouch had a great slide about all the quarterbacks, and I think there was 18 of them, if I'm not mistaken. I counted them up between the time Geno left until Geno came back. And they all stunk, by the way. There wasn't a good one in there. Aaron Rodgers was probably the best. Well, I guess, no, definitely was the best. But Geno kind of fits what the Jets want to do. They'll win a game, by the way. There's no way they're going winless. They still have a really good running back. And if their offensive line plays at all, listen, Geno had a good year. If you put him in the right system, which I do not think the Jets necessarily is, I don't think this is a bad signing. The Jets don't want a Kyler Murray. The Jets know they want to pick early next year. So I think the Jets are fine winning 3 games next year. They're not going to go winless. That's very hard. But they're not going to win a lot of games. They might be competitive. I mean, I will say this. Geno Smith's better than what they had. And they didn't want anybody good enough to – here's the thing, too. I mean, the Jets hopefully have a long-term plan. Their long-term plan is Arch Manning, I'm sure, or someone similar to him if it doesn't work out with Arch. Who knows? The family may decide they don't want him to play for the Jets, and they force their hand somewhere else and get him somewhere else. Where was I going? Oh, so they've got a long-term plan. If they bring in, say, a Kyler Murray, who I think is a great gamble short-term and long-term, now if they have a great season, he has a great season, they're going to have a hard time walking away from him and then taking an unproven college quarterback, because as good as Arch Manning might be next year, And Arch Manning got much, much better as the year went on this year. Arch Manning, if he was in this draft, would be the number one pick. I would almost guarantee it. But the Jets don't want to win 8 games next year. Right? I don't think. So I think, John, there's something to that. But I think Geno's better than, listen, I'm not a big backer. I wouldn't want Geno Smith being my starting quarterback. I'd be very happy if Geno Smith was my backup quarterback. But then again, I have Tommy Cutlet, so, and a rocket scientist. Danny's happy with the Redskins are doing, not finished. There's a lot to do there, I think. Getting the quarterback healthy is job one, and then keeping him upright is another one. But their running back situation, they got to be looking running back at some point. And again, they're not getting love, I don't think. I mean, if he falls to him, I would think they'd take him, but I don't think there's any way he falls there. But that's probably, I think that and their offensive line and some, probably still some help on defense. But, this team wasn't loaded with superstars when they won the East the year before and went to the conference championship game. They had Daniels and McLaren and a bunch of role players who knew the roles well. Reminded me a lot of the Patriots in 2001. A bunch of guys who knew their jobs. They knew they weren't superstars. Chason is a very good signing. Played really well last year. Really stepped it up in the playoffs as well. Probably the biggest loss the Patriots had in free agency was Chason and Hooper too. Hooper didn't. He doesn't show up necessarily in the box score a lot. He went to Atlanta, I believe. He's going to help them, but I think Chason's a really, really good pickup. Wasn't crazy about losing him. We didn't lose a lot of guys, contributing guys in free agency, but he's one I did not want to lose. That's a good pickup. That's a great pickup, actually, for them. Danny sent me his final 4 picks. Chattanooga State, Moreno Valley Community College, Hofstra, and Drexel. Is Drexel in? Who are the teams in? Funny. I don't think Drexel's in. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me take a quick look. Who is in so far? Of these teams mentioned, only Hofstra, I think, is in the tournament. UMBC got in for the American East. Isn't that where Drexel plays? Duke, Queens of North Carolina, their first bid out of the Atlantic Sun. Arizona out of the Big 12. St. John's out of the Big East. Idaho out of the Big Sky. High Point. Watch High Point winning a game here. Be careful. It's going to be interesting to see what their matchup is. Big Ten will get decided today with Michigan, one of the few number one seeds in their conferences to hold up. They're going to play Purdue today. Hawaii is in out of the Big West. Hofstra is in, as Danny mentioned, out of CAA. Kennesaw State out of Conference USA. Wright State out of Horizon League. Siena, go Saints, out of Loudonville here in the MAC. Four wins in the tournament. They could shock somebody. Akron gets in out of the MAC. We talked about, I think they deserve to be in. Them and Miami deserve to be in. I didn't care if Miami won the tournament over Akron. I think I would have put Akron in. In the MEAC, it's Howard. Missouri Valley is UNI. Mountain West is Utah State. San Diego State's going to be interesting to see what their fate is. They've lost this championship game. LIU out of the Northeast. Tennessee State. Lehigh out of the Patriot League. That could be a spot where Drexel plays. I don't remember where Drexel plays anymore. Furman out of the SoCon. Southland was McNeese. McNeese is another team to watch in this first round. Prairie State out of the SWAC. Summit League is North Dakota State, second year in a row. Troy out of the Sun Belt. And Gonzaga, who is my sleeper pick to win this whole thing, wins the West Coast. And they're going to get 3 bids this year. Santa Clara is going to get in along with St. Mary's to join Gonzaga. Grisham in 32 HRs was an amazing year and probably won't hit 25. Still help the lineup. We'll see. How does he really help the lineup? I mean, he didn't hit for a high average. His defense is way overrated. He dogs it too many times. You saw the clip? I played the clip, didn't I? Maybe I played it Monday. I wish I could find this clip. Damn it. This is everything wrong with Aaron Boone on Grisham gaff. I don't know if I can find this, but it is the epitome of everything that's wrong with Aaron Boone's the way he runs this team. Yeah, CM2. Recent play. I don't want that. Yeah, I'm not going to get it. Anyway, it's a spring training game, so it kind of gets overlooked. I should have downloaded and saved this clip. But he just totally boots a ball, a routine little ground ball up the middle, and he's kicking it around, not even paying any attention, no sense of urgency, and a guy takes second base. And Boone does nothing after the game except excuse it away. I don't care if it's spring training or not. I mean, if spring training isn't a place to start setting an example behavior-wise, effort-wise, that's what it's for. And that type of crap will carry over into the regular season. I'm so tired of Aaron Boone being an apologist for these guys. Call them out once in a while. It's okay. You have better expectations than I do for Grisham. I'm not a fan of him. His defense is way overrated. I'd rather see Bellinger in center field. Not Judge, though. But we'll see. He better hit at least 25 home runs, or that $23 million is just pissed away. Hello, CA. Good to have you with us. Time we got. I got a birthday party to head out to right after the show today. It's at noon, and we got like a 45-minute ride. So, John likes Houston signing Reed Blankenship and Tampa signing Alex. All good sign. Listen, a lot of teams, I like some of these moves. Houston, I don't get. What is Houston? That's a good signing. But what are they doing with Montgomery? I mean, they continue to chase running backs who have already got a lot of miles on them. Mixon, Chubbs. And it doesn't work out. So now they go with Montgomery. I mean, I'll give up a lot to get him, right? A 4th and a 7th, I guess, but that's not nothing. 4th-round picks can be very valuable. And to me, he's probably a better player in Detroit than he will be in Houston. They expect him to carry the load in Houston. Offensive line is good. Injuries hurt. Lack of depth killed both Wentz and JJ. Again, lack of depth. That's the problem. That's everybody's problem. Almost everybody's problem. There is no depth because you're going to spend all this money elsewhere. And again, you know me. If they want to pay you, you've earned it. I'm sorry. You're worth it. Go earn it now. But if you're going to spend, $50 million on a quarterback, $40 million on a wide receiver, $30 million on another wide receiver, $60 million on your cornerbacks. Well, that's a whole lot of your salary cap right there. What did I just come up with? 120 $180 million out of $300 million. You got a whole nother roster to fill. And guess where? And by the way, this happens on the other side of the line as well. Defensive lines. The play in the trenches where games really get decided is not good overall in the league. Defensive lines, not deep as well. Offensive lines, one injury can derail your whole season. Poor Geno coming back home to New York. People are worried about the Jets. I feel bad for Geno. Is that, well, we're used to guys. There was a time where that wasn't a lot of interceptions. I mean, that's what, 14 a year? How's my math? No, it's more than that. No, 14 a year. I mean, I'm not saying that's great. That's not horrible. I could say something here, John. I'm not going to. I'm not saying Geno Smith is going to take you to the Super Bowl. I'm not saying Geno Smith will be the quarterback past this year. I think Geno Smith is, you want a bridge that's not going to set the bar too high so that you can't go get Arch Manning next year. And there's no expectations past this year. If you brought in a Kyler Murray, you leave open the possibility. I'm not saying it would have been necessarily the wrong way to go, because if Kyler Murray ever met his potential, he might be better than whoever comes out of the draft next year, because those people are prospects for a reason. We don't know what they're going to do. So I'm not saying listen, there's no way I'm saying Geno is the answer. I think Geno is a good bridge, and you'll be more competitive than you were last year with Justin Fields, who couldn't. And I kind of like Justin Fields, and maybe in the right system, he'll someday be a manageable, serviceable NFL quarterback. But Fields, Taylor, Geno can't do worse than that. Danny appreciates the fan base of teams that just can't get over the hump. Some at times are competitive, and some at times just stink. When you're in and you're out, 3 teams I hope never getting a banner in my lifetime. The Flippers charge. So again, I think I get the gist of what you're saying there. So you appreciate the fan base of the teams that can't get over the hump, as long as they're not the Clippers, the Chargers, or the Padres. Lowest end of the entire roster, strikeouts. Yeah. Too many strikeouts, man. Way too many strikeouts. But that's the league. That's the game today. 3 true outcomes. Everybody loves it. I'm at a fantasy draft yesterday, right? And guys are bringing up barrel rates, and please, what are you freaking talking about, man? Strikeouts, home runs, walks. Nobody cares about anything else. And we get into all these ridiculous metrics. Batting average doesn't mean anything, right? Slugging percentage doesn't mean anything. Does to me. On-base percentage, huge. So I'm okay with a newer metric of OPS, which is a combination of on-base percentage and slugging percentage. I think that's a valuable stat. But when I'm looking at exit velocities and line drive rates and barrel accuracy, come on, just stop. All I need to do is watch the game, and I can tell whether a guy is good or bad. Fortunately, that conversation lasted about as long, because it was at Drew's house, actually, and one of Adam, I think, was the guy who brought it up, and Drew said, I think he's got an opinion on that. And I said, yeah, I think it's one of the stupidest freaking things that have ever happened to baseball. Chris thought Aaron Judge had a shot at 70 home runs in 2024. He became too one-dimensional and struck out 175 times. Listen, I don't think Judge I don't think that's too out of the ordinary for Judge in years that he's played regularly, though. I don't disagree with you, Chris, but this is what has become the norm and acceptable in Major League Baseball because striking out is okay. So let me just give you a couple of his other strikeout years. In 2017, he struck out 208 times. He struck out 175 times in 2022, and I think that's the year you said 2024. He struck out 175 times in 2022, 171 times in 2024. I think you might be referring to 22, actually, as a year he might have had a shot. He had 62 and he had 58 in 24. I guess either one of those, he could have had a realistic shot at 70. But he struck out 160 times last year. So, again, they make this, it's okay. Strikeouts today are okay. They're not okay for me because there's no productive out. We never move a base runner ever. Yeah, I'm not blaming Aaron Judge. This is the way he's, been coached since the time he got into the league. So while 175 may seem like a lot, he's averaged 160. And don't forget, one of those years he played 28 games and struck out 32 times. So I guarantee if we throw that out, well, the average gets a whole lot closer to 170. But you're not wrong. I mean, we have too many guys who play one-dimensional baseball. We don't. Our approach at the plate doesn't change based on the situation. It stays one-dimensional, to your point. Everything that's wrong with baseball. Everything that's wrong with baseball. This started, maybe it didn't start there, but it really was enhanced by the 97 season when McGwire and Sosa had the great home run chase that was enhanced, as we found out later. Or we knew then and just looked the other way. But ever since then, we've become homer happy. And we're happy with three true outcomes. I want you to walk, I want you to strike out, or I want you to hit a home run. And it doesn't matter. Your approach at the plate doesn't matter if there's a man on third and one out. We swing the same way. If the game situation calls for you to move a base runner or find a hole and put the hit and run on, we don't do that. Nope. Let him swing or strike, hit a home run or strike out. I did see the Bolts. Your Bolts signed Trey Lance. Trey Lance hasn't looked any good any place he's played. And again, he's a perfect example of why I say you got to be careful. There's way too many quarterbacks that get picked in the first round. Way too many. Now, I understand first-round quarterbacks are winning Super Bowls. I'm not disputing that fact. But when you look at the first-rounders that have done nothing in their career, you look at I've gone back to 66 in the start of the combined draft, and we can go back to 25, and you find just a handful of quarterbacks that have won Super Bowls drafted in the first round. Not much, not to mention first round picks. Now, yes, I get it. Mostly first round quarterbacks are winning Super Bowls. Mostly. But how about all the number of guys that you took a chance on, their teams took a chance on, that didn't even make the playoffs, or are Trey Lance, who can't even get in a game? Look at that draft. The 49ers moved up to get him. That draft had Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, Justin Fields, Who am I missing? Proves my point, and people argue with me all the time. But you got to have a quarterback. I get that. But you got to have the right quarterback, and you can't keep reaching for quarterbacks. You know, there shouldn't be anybody in the first round this year except for Fernando Mendoza, and I wouldn't make him the first, but he's no guarantee to make it. John is picking on me like white on rice. That'd be sticking to you, wouldn't it? I must not be doing a very good job for the Sports Authority. Time to go recruit after this show. You guys, and I know I call out John for being a great admin, but I know that John's got some great help from Danny and some other people. I just provide mediocre content. That I miss California Baptist University. I know it's another country, but come on. Are they in the tournament? I must have missed them. I apologize if they're in the tournament. Believe me. And Danny, I want to point out, when I point out that California is a different country, I might as well throw my own state in with you because, you know, it's not a whole lot different here. I think we combine our two governors' IQs, we might get to 100. I think. I'll give you two names of players who only struck out 100 times once in their career, both in their rookie seasons. Luis Gonzalez and Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds only struck out once in his career? I might have to call you on that one. And by the way, I'm not saying there aren't going to be outliers, right? I can't believe Barry Bonds would have only. Well, but here's the thing. Remember, Bonds didn't get pitched to either for most of his career, or the second or last third of his career. Nobody pitched to him. That's a good call. Rookie year. Good job. Those are remarkable stats. I will give you this. So the year he hit 73 home runs, he did strike out 93 times, which is second highest in his career. But he also walked 177 times. So he had like 100 less opportunities to strike out than Aaron Judge. 232 times in 2004. Amazing. 617 plate appearances. He only had like 373 chances to hit. It's 45 home runs. So he was below one home run over every 10 at bats not his last few years, but that 5-year period after his head started growing, twice the size of my melon. Those are good ones, but they're aberrations, right? I mean, for every one of those guys, and you go find guys like Volpe who strike out 100 times and they aren't hitting 60 home runs. The mentality of the game is just wrong. Boone on a tightrope. New York doesn't win. This World Series, magically coaching in Philly needs to be the manager. I don't know. I love Donnie. I love Donnie. I just, at this point, I don't know if I want Donnie to come back or not. I'm not sure Donnie wants to come back. I still think Donnie feels slighted that he didn't get the job over Girardi. And quite frankly, at that point in time, I think it was best for Donnie not to get the job. He had a lot of things going on in his personal life, and I think it would have been a nightmare. I really do. And then I think Donnie did a great job, and Danny was closer to this than me and a fan of the team. I think Donnie did a commendable job in LA. He was learning on the job and made some mistakes, but I think he did a pretty good job there. Did a great job in Miami with a couple of those teams that had no business even being near 500. But I'm pretty sure Donnie's time has passed as a manager. I really do. Love him to death, and I'd embrace it, I guess, if it happened. I just don't think it will. So Francisco Cervelli, go to Italy. He's not in Italy, but, get Cervelli in dugout. Can Mattingly lead in his time in Toronto? Press conference, he had a way of all but moonwalking out of the room. Well, to be fair, he wasn't managing in Toronto. I mean, his job wasn't to lead anybody, as the hitting coach or the bench coach. And managers lead to a certain extent, set a tone. Players need to lead, right? That's always been my opinion. Players need to lead each other. And the manager can just kind of stay out of the way of that. But set a tone for what he expects. I think Donnie did a good job wherever he's been. Boone needs to go long ago already. And I'm telling you, if you go back and I can't find that video now. I found it easily Monday because I think it happened the day before. I'll find it again. And watch Monday's show. I played it for Jack at the end of the show because Jack always on my case about Aaron Boone. And this is my biggest problem with Aaron Boone is he will not hold guys accountable. I don't know what he's doing behind the scenes. I don't care. But stop being an apologist for them in front of the cameras. I'm not saying you got to belittle them. But stop being an apologist time after time after time after time after time. And this was just over the top. Even Jack admitted it was a horrible look for Don Mag. I'm sorry, Aaron Boone. Give me Francisco Cervelli. Well, that's true. I'm doing the math based on playing full games. I didn't say it was good, by the way. I just said there's players that are worse. And if you go back in history, that was acceptable. Another thing that was acceptable. Strikeouts in football are acceptable now. There was a time in football where, the best quarterbacks in football were throwing 20-plus interceptions. I don't know that it's a great today. We got used to the Bradys of the world throwing 5 and 6 and 7 interceptions in a whole year. And accuracy has changed. If you're not completing 68% of your passes, you're not doing very well. Some of the best quarterbacks in history completed 50% of their passes. Games change. Defenses change. We allow for guys to complete passes. I do remember he got his jaw broken by his teammate. He was paid by his teammate to show up at a kid's. I didn't know this. He's a bad guy. I'm not commenting on his character. And I think character matters. You know that. I talk about character a lot. And if he's that bad a guy, then I don't want him on my team. I get that. And I think this is a horrible story that you're telling here. He leaves the kids, never showed up, kept the money, left the kids hanging. Not the kind of guy I want on your team. I agree with that 100%. I don't think I'd ever heard the full story of that. I know he got his jaw broken by his teammate. I think one of his offensive linemen, if I'm not mistaken. You can correct me on that, John. But no, that's not the kind of guy I want in my locker room. So by that standard, and by the way, do we give him credit for changing since then? I mean, that was how many years ago? 10 years ago? Has he grown up? Does that even matter? And again, I'm a big character guy. I don't want bad guys in my locker room. I really don't. I wasn't crazy about the fact when the Patriots signed Stephon Diggs. I wasn't crazy when the Patriots brought in Randy Moss, quite frankly. But they brought in some, questionable guys at times. I mean, we had serial killers on our team until they got caught. They probably should have known what was going on there, by the way. If you haven't watched enough about Aaron Rodgers, there's enough stuff out there to say, and guys will tell you that they knew this guy was bad. He did some really strange stuff that I'm not going to even get into here in the locker room. So I want character guys. And if Geno Smith is that guy, then he needs to go. Or I wouldn't sign him, I would say. So. John, if memory serves me correctly, it was over $600. But let's face it, Geno did not show up to a summer camp full of children. I don't remember that part of the story, and I'm sure you guys have it right. I do remember getting his jaw broken, but for whatever reason, I don't remember the reason. So good for him. I wouldn't have brought him back then. I mean, there's nobody left on the team. Is there anybody left on the team from when Geno was even here last time? Either in the front office or, the owner. Maybe they don't remember the story. I don't know. But do we let the guy grow up? And I'm not always good at this either, by the way. Saying guys change over the course of 10 years. Right? I'm not always big on giving guys second chances, depending on what transgressions we're talking about. But sometimes guys do mature. We got to wrap it up here soon. Danny, we love you to the moon. I don't sell myself short. I just don't like compliments, but you know. Danny, Keith, we're your adopted brothers. That's sweet, my friend. Thank you. I don't remember. Does that mean I got to move to the city? Things are going so well there. I worry about the governor. I got to worry about other things there. Man, we did a great job when you think of having to deal with McCourt. Thank you. I didn't expect to get that. And I might have gotten it before, Danny, but I don't always remember everything we talk about here, obviously. But I don't know that I expected you to give him a raving review. I think you did a good job. I don't know. Sometimes I think I do well, Rick, and other times, and then I finish last, like I have the last couple of years. So we'll see. Went well. I mean, we were done in like an hour and a half. Shortest fantasy draft I've ever been in. I don't know. I got Ohtani with the first pick, and I had the second pick. I thought I was going to get Judge. I got Ohtani. It's a moving target, dude, so we'll find out. In any event, guys, we're going to wrap it up there. I appreciate you guys' input. John and Danny, thanks for the kind words. Rick, guys, go get it. John, Danny, I put in the comments the link to the men's NCAA tournament. The women's NCAA tournament is in there. I'll push it again Wednesday night on the college football huddle. But get there and do it. I put it in the comments here. If you want to scroll backwards, go to my TGI Sports Talk page or my personal page, and you will find the stuff there. But get in there. Let's see if we can get them. Pass it on. Share it. You can send it to your friends. Send the link, Rick. Send a link out to your brother and your whole clan there. Your brother. I should send it to Doviak and that crew. But get some guys in here. Let's have some fun. See who's got the best savvy when I'll be out first round because I like to look for. Guys, I'll catch you on tomorrow morning with Jack on the weekend playbook. We'll see you later. Have a great Sunday. Bye-bye.